I'm Olga from TaxAssure. What we do sounds very simple. It's a basic proposition. We help people with their tax debt in a commercial and sustainable way. Anybody that has tax debt of any size, we can help you, whether they're individuals, sole traders, partners, family businesses, small corporations, large corporations, you name it. We can probably start the slides if that works for you, Shane.
It does.
While I'm talking. What I'm hoping to convey today is, yes, there are ways, but I don't know whether people talk about tax debt and positive in the same sentence, but there are ways and things you can absolutely do now to help your business, to help your clients' businesses to come out on the other side, and there will be eventually another side of this in a positive and a sustainable way. If we just flick to the first slide around the different things that we do. Thanks. There's a number of different ways we help our clients with tax debt, and this includes reduction of the debt and also managing the debt in whatever way is going to work best for every individual client. It's not a one-size-fits-all at all. Every business has their own individual needs, especially at the moment. So it can be a mixture of one or all of a reduction of debt, managing the debt, which can be payment plans, whether they're long-term, whether they're short-term. It can also look at finance, business structure, debt management options. What we want to do is we want to look after the debt for you, and so you can get on with running your business and that the clients can get along with running their business. We deal with a different area of the ATO than accountants would otherwise deal with. So we deal with the lovely debt area, and we've actually over the years have got some fantastic relationships with the directors and with the staff in that debt area, which allows us to get the different results that we're able to get for clients as well. Our team is a mixture of lawyers, which have all been business owners as well, and also client service specialists that help our clients in all of the different ways. If we can just flick to the next slide, please, Shane. What I thought I'd do is go through briefly what the ATO's attitude is at the moment. And exactly as what Andrew was saying before, is proactive engagement is the absolute key, as it always was, but even more now. So we've seen a real shift in the ATO through the pandemic process on how they've both dealt with it internally and how they've dealt with businesses and individuals that have had ATO debt moving through the pandemic. In the middle, I think everyone would understand and everyone would agree there were large holes and they were given quite freely and quite easily. A very specific line was drawn in the sand on the 14th of September. We were advised by a number of different ATO officers, and it was also published that as at that particular date, which is the 14th of September, the ATO are now back in active collection mode. Now, there's a number of different things that means and what they're doing now, and that relates to where your company or where your client's company sits in how the ATO considers their debt. So as we've got on the screen, there's three main areas. So we've got companies that their debt is relatively new, often exactly what we were just hearing. The hospitality industry is absolutely one of them, and different industries that have been specifically hit and have incurred debt recently because of COVID. The second situation we've got is a number of companies, which I'm sure you've all come across, that have got historic debt, and that this debt was incurred prior to COVID, and they've had for a number of different years. And then the third one is super. So I'll go through how the ATO briefly are looking at these different areas, and then what we'll do is look at some proactive approaches on the next slide that we're able to take with these different areas. So companies that we're calling it have got effectively new debt, but generally have a good compliance history. The ATO are now still back in that active collection mode. So one of the most important things is the engagement. What most of you will all already know is the ATO is extremely bureaucratic. So you either fit in a compliant basket or a non-compliant basket. And there's a number of ways to stay in the compliant basket to ensure that the active collection doesn't end up in debt recovery action. And also what can be done for those sorts of businesses to get them on the right foot moving forward. So as long as they stay in the compliance space and we can go through how that's achieved, then companies that have this new debt can be in a good position to move forward. The ATO's attitude to companies with historic debt is that debt was incurred prior to COVID. So we're already seeing pushback in relation to needing very detailed applications for further holds, for further deferrals, and with payment plans, it's almost business back to usual. Explain to us why and put all of that information in with a detailed payment plan as to why they should have a payment plan, and not only why the debt has been incurred or increased because of COVID, but we also need to go back and have a look at what the old reason was for the debt. So that's back proactively on its way to being collected by the ATO. The third one is super, and with super there was never really any change. So super is a debt that, as many of you know, goes across personally to a director of a company. And even during COVID, there was a little bit of sympathy in relation to the payments around that, but never forgiveness of any of that sort of payment. But that absolutely is back in collection and enforcement. With the super, about 18 months prior to COVID, I'm sure many of you will have also seen there was a big push for audits and a big push for super compliance. We feel that that's absolutely coming back now, and as we move forward, that's going to ramp up hard and fast again. What I'll do is get you to go to the next slide, Shane. Thank you, which I think is probably one of the most important things now is what can we do right now and moving forward to plan for all the businesses. And there's going to be, yes, there will be some that fall over, but I also believe there's going to be a lot that do come out the other side. And if we can help them now and we can plan and all work together now to get the best possible outcomes, then they're going to have the best chance for recovery and survival on the other side. There's a number of different ways to do this and a number of different ways that we've been doing and will continue doing. One of the things that is making a massive difference for a lot of the businesses that we're helping is looking at a refund, which is a reduction of the debt that relates to the interest and penalty components. If anyone has been a day late effectively on paying their tax obligations, there will be interest and penalties that will have accrued. Now, what we can do is go all the way back for however long that may need to have a look at whatever interest and penalties have accrued on a client's file and do a remission application. So those interest and penalties get refunded and the total amount of the debt, the result is reduced. We've done some recently that have gone back as far as 20 years to help clients get all of that interest and penalties back. I'll just give you one very quick example of that. Even if the current ATO position is effectively up to date, we had an insurance company and a security company that had a current ATO debt of $20,000. However, over the last 8 years, they'd actually incurred $80,000 in interest and penalties. A lot of that had already been paid during on and off compliance. We looked at the history of the matter. We also look at all of the legal practice directions that the ATO require for these sorts of applications. It's really important with those applications that you get it right, as you would all know, the first time, because if it's not achieved the first time, and it's a knockback in relation to that remission, then it has to be appealed to a court. So it's really important to get it exactly right and cover off on all the legal requirements that the ATO are asking for in any of those applications. they don't remit interest, 100% of the interest and penalties as a matter of course. These applications are normally around 12 pages long, the way we put them together. In this particular case, we were successful. We got the full amount of the $80,000 remitted. What that did was it cancelled out the client's $20,000 current liability and then also gave them a refund that they could either pull back out or a credit in relation to upcoming tax, which for so many clients at the moment is huge. We often get referrals from accountants, even just around that particular piece, to reduce the overall debt because they are concerned and want to make sure they get it right for themselves as well as getting it right for their clients as well as with that. The second thing that we also do and that we're doing at the moment, and even with the active engagement that is now starting, it's also really important for clients to look at what their position, the debt position with the ATO is, and come up with a managed plan and also a structured plan. So I'm going to go through 2 and 3 on the slide together. The managed plan is looking at what the ATO will consider, what their policies are, using the relationships that we've built and understanding what they need to see in the bureaucratic way for them to be okay and to get a payment plan across the line. Now, it's absolutely not one size fits all. It has to be what's going to be best for the clients. Now, in the current climate, this might be a 3 or 6 month structured process about what needs to come together to get the best payment plans and to get the best planning around that. And the payment plans have to be sustainable for the client as well. So we're getting the best possible position for the client, but also keeping the ATO on the side so clients remain in that compliance space and in the good box, the good side of the ATO as well. And sometimes that can be a mixture, whether it's short-term plans, long-term plans, deferrals, reduction of debt, putting that whole strategy and the plan together, then making the application so that at the end of the day, the client can continue on with their business. Their payment plans are sustainable so they can actually manage them so they can achieve them and then they can continue on with running their business. That's my summary, Shane. I've kept it nice and short and sweet. I think Shane's coming back to unscreen share. If we just to the next.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Olga.
What we always say is if you've got any questions, lots of people, I had a question yesterday saying they had a client with $9,000 of interest and penalties. Is that too small for us to look at? We always say, give us a call, chat through it. We want to help clients get through to the other side of this. This tax debt is all we do. This is what we look after. This is how we work. And with both the relationships that we have with the ATO and the understanding of the legal requirements behind these applications, it can really help clients in the current climate with some positive engagement, keeping them on the right side effectively of the ATO, and in the best case scenario, getting them a refund or a reduction of their debt as well.